Hey,
What's going on, man?
not too much, buddy. How are you?
Not bad. Good to see you tonight. What's new on your end?
Oh, not too much. We are I'm putting together a couple presentations talking with some two different organizations where the first one is the high school around here that I've been working with
Mm-hmm.
are going to be doing a presentation for the spring athletes. It kind of got pushed just because of, just the insanity that is COVID and
Right.
scheduling. So I've got that on. Um, well, we haven't scheduled it, which is actually it's kind of nice
Mm-hmm.
because I got to put together. It's like trying to decide like what topics to touch on. Because the other talk I have is I guess AA teams or whatever travel baseball leagues,
Okay.
and they want us to, or if they want me to put together a presentation for the parents, just talking about, um, taking care of yourselves and looking at like warning signs and like that kind of thing. So
What
that's
age?
easy
Yeah.
because I think
What age group are you talking to with that?
that the second one that'll be I think they're 9U through 14U
Okay.
teams.
So real basic stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas the other, well, because the older kids are playing their school leagues right now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so we'll do them later. But um we are touching on, so that lost my train of thought, Mike. So that presentation is
Yeah.
easier because it's all baseball kids, and all adolescent baseball kids. Whereas the other talk that'll be a little tougher because it's um they're all high school kids, but then we'll have female and male athletes, track, baseball, softball, all the other sports. I think maybe tennis also.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to capture as many, so like what points do I hit on with that?
Yeah. I guess just, I mean, what I would do, obviously, it could be different from what you're talking about. I guess with at the high school level, at least 70%, of advice you would give to high school athletes could be pretty similar.
Yeah.
When it comes to whether it is weight room or nutrition. So
Mm-hmm.
much of so much of what a large population can improve on is pretty universal, right? So you
Yeah.
say the high school athlete probably not eating enough. If I had to
Yeah.
throw one thing out there, definitely not enough protein.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as far as training, what can we do to get you in the weight room in season? So, your talk, but just kind of the information you've given me, that's kind of what I'm thinking off the
Yeah.
top of my head is that it's kind of that philosophy where, um, for big populations, so much of what needs to be focused on is so simple
For
because
sure.
the simple things aren't being hammered enough.
Yeah, that's first of all, you make a really good point. So maybe I'll just have you do the presentations,
Oh, there we go.
write the presentations for me.
There you go.
No, you're 100%. The only thing though is that trying to balance that, like obviously, like if somebody talks to us, you or I, and they know what we do for a living, then they can expect, what we're going to talk about, right? We're going to
Right.
talk about the importance of, the other thing too that I really like a lot is that this is kind of tangential, but um, well, let me get there in a second. But remind me to talk about vulnerability, being vulnerable if I forget. But the thing is that with these presentations, I kind of want them to. I think what I'm maybe also I've got all these different groups, and then talking about the coordinating things with the coaches, and like I won't have any contact with the coaches at all.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure it comes off as being nothing but supportive, and so I think I think that what I might touch on is like maybe like a triage kind of thing. Like these are the things that you should be looking out for. So if you run track, these are, like hamstrings and quads and
Definitely.
calves. versus if you're playing softball, we might see a little more bicep stuff, a little more forearm stuff, because the ball is so freaking, isn't that the funny thing? The sport with the athletes that have smaller hands
Yeah.
are also the same athletes that have to use this big freaking ball.
Yeah.
And so we see you need a lot more grip strength, a lot more use on the forearm, and then the bicep, because of how it's really kind of hard to wind up your arm and obviously throw an underhand.
Yeah.
So you use a lot of your anterior and shoulder structure rather than like that rotational cuff work for a pitcher. And then obviously baseball, we've touched on baseball before. So arm care is just so important, making
Right.
sure that they know like what to look out for. So I think that's where I'm leaning right now, Mike, because I don't want to come off sounding preachy,
Yeah.
like I want to balance that where,
Right. Well, especially when talking to high school.
most of these people know, especially with the high. Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
Sorry, we had a little bit of
Yeah, lag.
audio shuffle there. I was just saying, especially talking to high school, it's trying to get too preachy to, those kids don't want to be told what to do. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And unless you're spending every day with them as your coach, you're not gonna get across to them fully with that type of message in, an hour or two or whatever you're doing.
Yeah. Well, not only that, the other thing too I think about is that all the parents should be there. Hopefully we'll be there.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that we've got all these parents here, and they might start to question, like, why aren't we in the weight room right now? Or how is this different than what we're doing already? And I don't want that to become a mixed message. You know what I mean? Instead, I want these kids to be, the kids and their parents to be zoned in, focused in on, you're in season. This is how we're going to take care of it regardless. Because I've had some parents come up to me and they've been kind of concerned with their kid, and so, I mean, obviously, right. But, and so we've had to work with I've had to work with the athletic trainer, who actually was my trainer when I was at that school. And, we're just trying to make the parents appreciate that, like, injuries happen no matter what, and then on top of that too, is that some of the parents, they don't know what normal is. They don't know that you get soreness from muscles because maybe
Right.
they weren't athletes themselves. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there is, the expression hand holding has a bad connotation, right? But,
Mm-hmm.
I think that I don't think that it is. It's like, we know we're like Sherpas and we kind of know what we're doing. So like, let me guide you. And so that we can help, you just want the best for your children, your kids.
Yeah.
So, and that's all we want too. We want to keep kids healthy as well.
Yeah. And, we always, like, whether we're talking about just in the gym or if you're the coach, we could develop you for 2 hours in practice, whatever it is, or even if we're just working with gym clients, an hour in the gym. But what we say so often is that what you do in the other 23 or 22 hours is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all going down, for the most part,
Yeah.
or not all of it, but a lot, outside of school, it's going down under the parents' roof, right? So
Yep.
they play a big role in, making sure that they have the resources, whether you're talking about, just kind of being there to help reinforce, hey, you should probably, get some sleep now. You got this tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
importance of sleep. If it's nutrition, obviously they're probably cooking, or anything, just kind of making sure that they're able to support the stuff you're talking about.
Yeah. The athletic development. Yeah. For sure, dude. I mean, and that's the thing that I think most people, not even parents, most people have a general idea of like what good looks like, fruits and vegetables, healthy proteins, not eating processed stuff. Everybody knows hydration is important, but actually executing on these things. It's kind of like what we talked about last week. I think it was, or not last week, but the last episode, was that a lot of people come to me because they want validation of what they're doing. or, they want advice. They want my expertise, it's
Mhm.
like, well, is it okay that I feel this? And a part of what we're going to be doing too, if you think about it, is just kind of streamlining that process. Not that, what it's 8 o'clock on a Monday night. Obviously, I don't mind talking about this stuff. You and I don't mind talking about this stuff. But if we can answer some of the more baseline fundamental questions, in a group setting,
Yeah.
then we can move forward to then get that next level of performance or wellness out of kids, rather than having to repeat ourselves all the time.
Yeah.
So, because once those baseline questions get answered, then it's like, okay, well, then what's the next layer? And then the next layer, and then the next layer. So eventually it's going to get to the point, well, should we maybe be doing some more weightlifting? And that's what we want. That self-discovery, where these parents and these kids are like, man, I tell you what, maybe I, it's like, well, it's not sharp, bad pain. I didn't feel a pop in my shoulder or whatnot. But could we just strengthen this? It's
Yeah.
like, it's funny you mention that, because we can, or whatever the thing is.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something too, getting your message out to a big group like that, like if it's a team and then the team receives it together, and then you almost, I've definitely seen it before, but the team receives the message as a whole, and then you almost kind of have like an accountability factor where when everyone has been
Mm-hmm.
given the same message, everyone kind of being on the same wavelength, and then you kind of get that accountability factor. Everyone's speaking the same language. I think there's definitely
Yeah.
something to that.
And dude, that's the thing. You and I, we played the most macho sport of all macho sports in playing football.
Right.
The thing, and so, males are really bad about this, because there's so much machoism that goes between, teammates. And so giving them an opportunity to understand, like, it's okay. Like, you are not helping yourself if you are just getting injured all the time,
Right.
or it's that you're going to make yourself look like you don't know what you're doing because you're not speaking up when you're injured. So we would rather you be honest, because then it looks like you're playing like crap. So are you being lazy? You just don't care?
Yeah.
Did you party last night? Are you not doing what you're supposed to? And sometimes the kid understandably gets defensive, because it's like, no, I've been taking care of myself. I've been trying, but my arm doesn't feel good,
Yeah.
or whatever. I just keep using that. But it's like, well, then why didn't you tell us? Tell us that your arm doesn't feel good, and we'll help it feel good.
Yeah. There's you'll never fully fight that. I think that, definitely, I think kids want to, because you hear this stuff, like, I'm trying to think of an example, like, I'll probably sound like an idiot if I get it wrong, but what is it? The Kobe Bryant flu game or the Michael Jordan flu game or something?
Mm-hmm.
You hear
Mm-hmm.
that, so-and-so one, actually played on a broken rib in this game. You hear that off the idols, like Kobe or whoever
Mm-hmm.
it is. And, obviously everybody wants to strive to be that kind of,
That
kind of
greatness,
macho, that kind of macho, that kind of tough.
Yeah.
So it's tough to fight. It's like, you can say it, you can drill it forever, but there's always kind of like that unwritten rule that it's like, no, we got this out. So it's tough. It's a tough one.
Well, and the thing is, we want you to be tough, and your sport requires you to be tough. But toughness isn't just yelling and screaming and being a jerk and ignoring your body. Instead, the toughness we want you to develop, as we've talked about before, is we want you to be so focused. Even if you're tired and your girlfriend just broke up with you and you didn't play as well as you wanted to, or you really want to get a scholarship and so you need to perform well, these are all distractions. Or, or your parents had a fight, or maybe your parents get along really well, but they just had a baby sister, or, you know what I mean? There's all these variables that come into play. And that's where real toughness is demonstrated, is, can you show up and get your work done and work hard and be present and make progress despite all those things that we just listed.
Yeah. And I would add just like almost obsession with small details, you know what I mean? Not letting, not getting too down on yourself, but, even if it's the slightest thing that you're not doing right, or you could do better, you're not beating yourself up, but you're not accepting it as,
Exactly.
you're not accepting it. You're not satisfied with it. You want to, obsessively, even when some people might be in your ear, like it's, why do you care
Oh,
so
yeah.
much? You know,
Yeah.
like, no, you want to figure out what can I do to make this better, even if it's whether it's something big or just a minor
Yeah.
detail.
Yeah, exactly. And we talked about Brady last episode, and at how he didn't graduate from the fun. For those of you who didn't listen, it's not that Brady's so good, not in part, not because he is special and gifted and he graduated from the fundamentals. Instead, he is so good because he is obsessed with the fundamentals.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever everyone else is happy and done and like, well, that's good enough for today, he's there doing extra reps, staying up, staying up late, getting up early. He doesn't let that stop him. So and the thing is that you need to get to the point where you can have a flu game like Jordan or like Kobe. So think of all the times that they showed up and could work hard, and that's what we want. But the thing is too, is that those guys know their body better, knew their bodies better than almost anyone else because they were so in tune with it. So that's what we want you to do. We want you to not ignore your body so that, these guys get like IV fluids at halftime. Well, that's
Yeah.
not ignoring their body, you know? So that's being very open and honest about how they feel,
Yeah. Yeah.
So go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, the flu is we say that using the flu game as like an example. Sickness is a different example, but part of what we do in training and why you do it in the off season is because, on the surface, you're thinking I'm getting bigger and stronger because I got to go out and hit guys and run away from guys and run guys
Mm-hmm.
down. But it's preparedness, right? It's preparing the body to be ready for whatever. So you mentioned, we can get you to a point to play a flu game. That's
Mm-hmm.
why that's a big part of what we're doing in the off season is building that preparedness. So even if you're not at your best, you have the rigidness, the strength, the tissue quality, whatever it is, to be able to endure something like that, even under a little bit of stress.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that it has to build over time. You can't go straight to the flu game, So you have to appreciate that there's a lot of skill and there's a lot of toughness and there's a lot of fundamentals that are built leading up to that. Because again, when crap hits the fan, you're going to degrade to the lowest common denominator.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever level or ability or plays that the best, that are like ingrained, that's where you're going to drop back to. So the more preparation that you have, the better capacity that you have, then you won't fall so far down the ladder, so to speak, as compared to if you didn't show up and then you got sick and then then all of a sudden you're falling all the way back down. That's how hard those dudes work. They work so hard that they're sick and they still are the best players out there. Think about that.
Right. Right. It'd be like, the guys that are in and out of the weight room every day in the off season, their bad days are still better than the guys that are inconsistent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like the guys that are inconsistent, you don't even know what a good day is for them. A guy that is there consistent, you might know when he's having a bad day because you know what top looks like, but he's going to fall back down to a level that's still higher than guys that don't take it seriously, aren't consistent and adherent to it.
Well, and the other thing too, right, is that people need to appreciate that not only are you going to fall back down to your level, but also it's rare that you have a really good feeling day.
Mm-hmm.
It's rare just because, life is busy and hard. And if it's not your girlfriend, then it's your parents nagging you. If it's not your boyfriend or girlfriend or your parents, then it's school, or maybe your friend said something mean, and it's kind of been bugging you, or maybe you have a sibling that's a pain in the ass, and so, but your parents want the two of you to train together, and so now you're trying to get a workout in and yet your sibling's bugging you, or whatnot.
We've seen that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Or, you show up. I remember how this was, back in the day. You show up and boy, there's some really cute girl in the gym. And it's like, man, oh man. And it's like, it's like hard to concentrate. Well, for you, you know, you're allowing this good looking person or whoever, you know, to distract you. All these things are distractions, you know, and some of them are very real. It's
Mhm.
okay. The point is that the days when you don't feel good, you don't feel like training, you're in a bad mood, you're tired, you're sick, those are the days where you get the most done. Those are the days that are the most important, because the days when you feel super awesome, you slept good, you didn't have to do any homework, you didn't have to go to work early, you know, whatever your thing is, you didn't have to do any of that, you feel awesome, just got yourself a new boyfriend, those days are few and far between. So learning how to succeed when things are not going your way is super important, not only in a figurative sense, but also in the literal sense. Because if you only trained on the days you felt good, you would train far less often than you do or should.
Yeah, and that's what the weight room and the training, whether it's, I keep saying the weight room, but whatever form of training you do, you know, when you hear people joke about it sometimes that they're
Yeah.
training for life, um, but it really is. You know, if you can get yourself to those places where you're disciplined enough to still get in there and get work done, even between those busy days or those stressful days or those emotionally, you know, worn out days,
Yeah.
you know, that's going to carry you so far, whether you're a competitive athlete or just a, you know, regular, you know, working
Yeah.
person. You know, that's kind of the point. You know, when you say I'm training for life, it's not like, oh, well, I'm going to get stuck under this car, so I'm going to bench press it off me. It's that factor right there.
Yeah. And, you know, it's like you, it's the opportunity to be vulnerable. It's for our athletes, it's the opportunity to go in there and do and work on things, because when you're on the field, you know, your performance is being held against you. Now, if you have a good coach, that good coach is going to see the things you don't do well, no matter how long or short that list is, and they're going to give you that opportunity to improve those things.
Hmm.
But but they're still keeping track of that, because at the end of the day, you know, they want to be supportive, but they're still there to win, compete and win, compete and win. So you can still participate if you're no good at whatever sport it is. Let's say softball, you know, that's fine. You can join and be social and whatnot, as long as you're not a distraction, because the goal is to still win. Otherwise, play intramural. Then there's nothing wrong with that, you
Yeah.
know? So it's super. So the stakes are very high, even if it's your junior high, you're playing 9U, like what I'll be talking to here in a couple weeks, you know, the stakes are, it's still important to do well, and you have to take it seriously, because it's a competition, because you're playing for keeps, so to speak. And so the gym really gives you an opportunity to be vulnerable, gives you an opportunity to try and fail, you know, and you know that whether it's a physio like me or a coach like Mike, or when I coach, you know that we're there to support you. You know, like we want to push you to the brink, but you're always going to be in charge. That's what I always make sure my patients know and my clients know. I say, who's in charge? You're in charge. Michele and Mike are not in charge. You're in charge. We make recommendations and we are the guys, but we are not in charge. So, you know, it's giving yourself this opportunity to explore, find yourself, find new capacity, you know, but you have to be willing to fail to do that. That's that whole being vulnerable thing. You have to be okay with trying new things that you're not good at, you know?
Yeah.
So, and then the same thing, the adult side of that, or the recreational side of that, is just you being willing to go out and do something hard, you being willing to choose the hardest thing. One of the hardest things you did today is something you choose to do, by coming in and getting your workout and being focused and pushing all the crap of your day behind, you know, beside, and then come in and get a good workout in, you know? So, and then that'll carry over when you go back into the real world. And it's like, okay, I can do this. I can concentrate. I can focus.
Yeah. It's such an important thing, I think, as you get, you know, even just like kind of out of college and into the workforce, you know, even as just a young adult. And I actually probably need to get into this a little bit, but finding stuff that is a little bit uncomfortable for you. And
Yeah.
for that, and for a lot of people, that would be a gym, like a weightlifting gym. So
Yeah.
that's why I think for general pop, the actual weightlifting is another big benefit. It's
Yeah.
comfortable for us, but doing stuff that you're a little bit uncomfortable with,
Yeah.
kind of learning stuff like that. So for me, you know, um, you know, weightlifting's comfortable, but maybe it would be like some form of martial arts. I've never done anything, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
something like that. But for a lot of people, it would be going to a gym and learning how to squat or deadlift or bench press, and anything that a lot of people haven't had, because a lot of people they get out of college, then they get a job, and it's just kind of comfort zone
Yep.
forever.
Yep.
And I think, like you mentioned, whether you're in the gym or you're going back into the real world, I think it has such a carryover in so many factors, whether it's your confidence, your ability to kind of problem solve anything. I think adults should definitely continue to try to seek challenges. Just like you said, be vulnerable in situations, because you're gonna be, vulnerable whether you ask for it or not.
And dude, even for us in the gym, around other people, other athletes, we work with a bunch of mutants. You know what I mean? Like some of the kids are just kind of there. We don't know what they're going to become yet. They're too young. But in general, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
In general, it said my connection was unstable. So let me know if I cut in and out on you.
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay. So the thing is that, it's important that we are vulnerable around our athletes and our clients, whenever it's appropriate to train in there, because they're pushing themselves. They want to see that we're willing to do that, where we're willing to push ourselves, that we know what that feels like. And we don't have to move the same weight that they do, not even, or even at the same intensity. But I think you need to show up, and you need to show that you're willing to do it, that you're able to do it, that you know how to do it, because again, it's an expression of effort. That's the biggest part of it. It's not about numbers anymore for us. We're done. Our careers are done. Instead, it's about that expression of effort, showing up, making sure that you're able to execute these movements with the same intention that we ask our athletes or our clients to do.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this actually on one of our talks before, but once in a great while, I obviously don't do this like all the time because it wouldn't be like all that professional, but I'll hop in the group and kind of get in with them on, some sets. Again, just to kind of basically do what you just said, between that and just kind of show like, this is the intensity that we work with here. Because sometimes you kind of have to give an example, like this is how you have to work to truly get better. Once in a while, and between this and relationship building, even if it's just kind of joking around, the kids might, challenge me to something, if we're doing, I'll hop in there and do something real quick. And they say once in a great while, but it is kind of that showing your own vulnerability, showing, that you're able to, do these things. You're able to struggle, as well. So I like that a lot.
Dude, and the benefit that it has in building your rapport and your relationship with your clients is huge.
Yeah.
Especially if it's your either one, if it's your adult clients, then, they might be thinking to themselves, it's like, well, it's not a competition. You know what I mean? It's like, so just, show me that you don't mind working a little bit, and then obviously with our athletes, there's some things that they're way better at than us, and so being okay with it's like, you do something silly or you do something that you're not as good as your high school athletes, and it's like, and it's kind of like they respect you for trying to not, again, those are those walls that we talk about that male athletes sometimes have a hard time, dealing with,
What's funny is that, bringing that up is normally when it comes to kind of the bare bones, barbell work or anything, I for the majority of the athletes, that's, I'm kind of usually setting the example there because that's something but anytime if I'm having to demonstrate something mildly athletic, like single leg hurdle hop or something off the boxes drop, that's always like me, I always say I'm going to do my best, I'm going to do my best there. And they can always, almost always do it better than me.
Yeah.
If it's, mildly athletic, I've got a little bit left in me, but these kids could still, I show them how it's done, and then they really show me how it's done.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
And
funny thought I thought of in the actual gym setting, thinking about,
right. Yeah. No,
what
that
the
is good.
athletes do better.
And I've learned, I try actually really hard to not demonstrate anymore. Like I might do it on air, but
Mm-hmm.
not to actually pick up a weight when I'm in front of people. Only because, and we can get more into this our next episode,
Definitely.
but the thing is that what I don't want to do, because I'm a big dude, I'm pretty athletic, pretty strong, I move pretty well, I kind of know what to do. Obviously, we know what to do because we're the coaches, So, you don't want it to become about you
Mm-hmm.
or about a comparison between your ability to do something and the client's ability to do something. So I actually really learned that, shout out from the Boardman High School up in Youngstown, the track and field coach who did my track and field, USA track and field coaching certification in Portland, Maine. And he said that uh, the problem is that there's this one-upmanship that starts to happen between these, because then you're some old retired fart, it's, even at your age, Mike, I mean,
Yeah.
you're 10 to 15 years older than most of your clients.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm, 15 to 25 years older than most of my clients. So the thing is that if you do it better than them, then it's like, wow, you can't even do what this old dude can do,
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't want to create that environment. Or it's like, if let's say you're not very good at it, then it's like, okay, well now you can't even do it, So it becomes this like comparison,
Yeah, I can see the lose there, for
Yeah.
sure. I wrote it down. Like I said, it definitely is for a longer discussion. I wrote it
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
for
We'll talk more about it later.
like visual versus like auditory learning for
For sure.
clients and that kind of thing.
Yep.
Because that is an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
And when it might benefit versus the
And
interesting point that you make.
And that's the thing, is that sometimes that one rep or a couple reps showing somebody, it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
now I get it. So obviously with that coach, and again, this is the last thing I'll say, and then we'll talk about it more later, but obviously in that setting, that's better because he can get another athlete, because he's coaching the entire track team. He can get another athlete and say, okay, and then he'll talk through the demo, or he'll get another athlete that is good at the thing that he wants to demo. And then it's like, okay, this is what it should look like.
Yeah.
So obviously it's not an apples to apples comparison because our settings are so different.
Yeah, that probably is my favorite way to do it when I'm able to get that setting, is where you get an athlete that is good at it. And I can point, talk, instead of trying to like be in the situation and talk at the same time. It's kind of awkward.
For sure.
I do. Yeah, that is probably my favorite when we do get a group setting like that.
Yep.
But awesome. Yeah, good point. I will. We'll have to cover that next time.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. All right. So branching off what you said, so you're talking to the baseball guys. This kind of all stemmed from the talks that you're giving. Anything new kind of in general pop world for you, dealing with anything?
Well, we're gonna be starting. Sorry, Mike. Go ahead and finish.
I was just saying, any more kind of patient world versus athlete world.
Yeah, well, no. The only other thing that we're starting is I'm going to be starting a strength class for runners, and we can talk more about this next time too. But for the adult population, which obviously is different than the kids that we talked about a few episodes ago. I mean, the concepts are the same because running is running, but the expression of that is different, working with an adult versus working with, a child who hasn't developed anything, versus maybe an adult where we're trying to regain or restore something,
Mm-hmm.
So that's the biggest thing, and then, again, I keep bringing all these things up as we're trying to like wrap up the show. But you know what I need to work on, Mike? I need to work on my red zone offense.
Okay.
Meaning getting the ball over the goal line. That's the part that I always struggle with. Meaning, like, somebody comes to me, they have shoulder pain. with 9 out of 10 physical activities and all like shoulder movements. Okay. So we gotten to the point to where all that functional stuff is better now, or maybe out of the nine out of the 10, he's down to like 1 out of 10, you know? And then like almost all of the shoulder exercises are better, but then there's just a couple exercises. That's where I struggle as a practitioner, is to finish that process, you know?
Yeah.
And actually personally, I struggle with that a lot too. Just getting things to finish well. Sorry, to like make sure I put a full closure on something and take it all the way to the goal line, you know? So like I'm thinking in particular with one patient that we're trying to, he's the exact example that typifies this, personifies this, because he's so much better. We've made so much progress, but there's still these couple things. And so it's really hard to get the effort to finish whatever you've been doing, whatever you started, whenever it's like that 80-20 rule. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he did the 80 now, and him and I are just clawing for that 20%.
Yeah, that I can imagine that being tough, because again, you're essentially almost needing like perfection,
Yeah.
to get there. And I don't know what this guy in this example does, but almost when you're dealing with some, I imagine there's plenty of patients where they're like, well, I got to do this at work, I can't avoid this, you know what I mean? Or I'm doing this at home, I'm cooking for the kids nonstop, and it's just these little motions in my wrist, I can't avoid them. There's just no way to do it. I got to do it to make money, whatever it is. I assume you probably work around a lot of that, where it's like it's kind of like me, where maybe it's nutrition, and there's no way to for me to be able to eat food between these hours because I'm doing this. And
because you're working. Yeah.
So you're trying to like come up with these solutions to work around these inevitables. And I imagine that's just a real struggle with what you do.
Well, that can be two things, bud. The first thing is that actually sometimes is easier to deal with because it's unavoidable.
Mm-hmm.
Because whether you like it as the patient or I like it as the practitioner, we have to deal with this, So, and furthermore, sometimes that's even better. That's better meaning easier to deal with, because it's not like we can choose. It's like the difference between one road is straight to your destination, but it's a really bad road. Lots of potholes, really bumpy. It's going to be hard on your car, and you're going to kind of break down your car a little bit. Or there's a long path around. There's a couple different long paths around that gets you to that destination, but the road's a lot better. So you can think about that versus the road this way. The road is closed. It's like impassable. And so whether you like it or not, we got to decide which one of the long routes that we're going to take around, because the road's closed. So it's easier in that instance when the road is closed, when things are so bad that they're literally untenable, that's easier sometimes to facilitate change in that instance than it is if the road is still open and you can still pass, but now all of a sudden it's like this marginal thing. It's like, well, I can go this one time, because it's going to wear my car out, but it's not going to break. But the problem is that you make that decision over and over again. And that's the really hard choice, Force yourself to take the long route, even though you can see your destination clearly in front of you, if you can just survive this bad road.
Yeah, no, awesome. Yeah, it's on, and I definitely get your point. It's almost like you can take a section and kind of put it out of mind. You know what I mean? If it's like controlling the things or worrying about the things you can control and not the things you can't. Yep. Which is great advice anywhere. But interesting point. A lot of good analogies there. Red zone offense, and sounds like the road to Canton Barbell.
That's right. I know. When I came up there a couple weeks ago, whenever that was, I was wondering if they had paved the road. I was like, nope.
Yeah, it's filled in a little bit. Still a little bumpy, but that lasts for a few months and they just fill it in again. So
I know, man.
It is what it is. Yeah, part of the character. But
yeah, exactly. Part of the charm.
Good deal. So anything else new you want to throw in for tonight?
No, I feel like that's pretty good. We're at a pretty good spot. Otherwise, some of these topics, we could really dive into. So maybe they're best saved.
I was going to say, yeah, I
later.
put a couple notes down. I think that that probably is a couple of, whole entire discussions we could have on a few things that kind of stemmed out tonight.
Yeah.
So we'll make note of that and definitely try to
It-
dive in
that
the next few weeks.
gives you reason to keep coming back for, you, the viewer that's watching this.
There you go.
Come back for the next episode.
There you go. Awesome. Hey, real quick, I guess while we're at the end of this, your nutrition Q&A, did you have any updates on that?
No, we're planning to record it this Saturday. So, to be honest, Allie, she's great. Our dietitian, I let her do it. I had a really bad experience with some micromanaging at some previous jobs.
Yeah.
And so I've worked very hard to get a clear expectation of what we're trying to do, make sure she knows that she needs me, and otherwise just stay out of the way. And then what I'll do is I'm going to host it because, like I told you, we're going to stay. And so, what we'll do is this is going to become a regular part of our Fuel Move Recover platform, the podcast that I do and the website that I run that advancingathletics.com hosts. And what we'll do is that I think we're going to leave our survey up, Mike. So if you have any athletes that are interested or anybody who's listening to this, if you're interested, you have a nutrition question you'd like to answer, what we'll do is that you submit your question, and then every month or so, we'll do another Q&A, or once we get to, about an hour's worth of content. So if you want to get your question answered sooner, encourage your friends to also submit questions or whatnot. And then that way we'll fill up our bank sooner, and then we'll be able to shoot out an episode.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. I've told for our athletes, I got it out to the parents. These guys are always asking, mostly about, weight gain for a lot of them.
Yeah.
We got a couple guys that would like to lean a little bit too. So there's, you got that category as well. We've got some competitive athletes, a couple endurance guys I know, which is a big, nutrition plays a big factor when you're talking about races that
energy demand.
Yeah. Yep. And you're talking about races that are decided by hundreds of seconds. Definitely, you're putting in 3 hours in the pool or on a track. So it's definitely a good opportunity for our athletes. You guys know I can answer pretty basic stuff, but if you've got the opportunity to talk to a registered dietitian, would not pass that up.
Yeah. So we've got, I forget what the form said that we wrote on, maybe last week. So she had to bump it back a week. So actually, you've got till Friday, and then for sure we're recording on Saturday. So if any of you listening to this before Friday the 15th, right? Friday the 15th, that sound right? Today's 12, so 13, 14, 15, yeah, 16. Friday the 16th. So get them in by Friday the 16th. We're recording on Saturday the 17th.
Good stuff. Yeah, awesome. I'll keep pumping that out in the facility. Cool. On our end, usual stuff. Coach Waleed's still doing youth. Schedule's going to change a little bit. We're working on some programs for summer, same program, but just different schedule, potentially a couple new opportunities, but still Monday through Thursday, 6 to 7. Ages roughly 7 to 13. Mastering fundamentals, pretty basic stuff, unlimited. And then also our adult group exercise program has kicked off. So
cool.
Good opportunity for, to get a great value for that same $119 a month, get some good frequency in the gym, work with a good group, and get it, what I would say is just as good of a training experience as our other programs, for even for less. So good deal. All right. Anything else?
Nope, that's it. So you can just find our stuff. I host my own podcast, Fuel Move Recover. You can find it literally anywhere the podcasts are. It's me and my partner Alex, who's also a PT, and we have a couple dietitians, and one we're bringing on here in a little bit. And we talk about how to optimize what you eat, how you move and the way you manage stress, various topics. Like this week, we're talking about breathing exercises. Last week, we actually talked about poop and how the way you empty your bowels makes a big difference or says a lot about how well you're eating. And so it's weird because we're talking about poop, but it can actually really tell us a lot about how you're taking care of yourself and how healthy you are. So you can find us at advancingathletics.com right there underneath me, and or Michele Ionno on Twitter and Instagram. So Michael tagged me, so you can find me there if you have any questions.
Will do.
So, bud, I will see you tomorrow then.
Yeah,
Are
awesome.
you gonna be around tomorrow?
You know it.
Okay, buddy. Sounds
All
good.
right. Look forward to it.
Yep. See ya.
See ya.